Now that we know what jQuery is and why we should be excited about it, let's see how easily we can put it into our web pages. And I'm actually going to show you two different ways to do it, and we'll look at the advantages and disadvantages of each. So first off, let's jump back over to our text editor, and I've got good old javascript.html set up there. I'm going to save that as a new file, and I'm going to create a new folder. So this is number 4, and I'll call it jQuery. Okay, and we'll save it there, but I will call it jQuery.html. Okay, and as usual, we'll start with an empty HTML document, and we'll call it jQuery. Okay, so we don't need that bit anymore, so let's get ourselves split up, and let's see first off the quickest way to get going with jQuery, and that is to Google for something like embed jQuery. So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to embed jQuery into our page so that we can use it. And thanks to Google, we actually get the answer without even having to go to another page, because jQuery is hosted on googleapis.com, and we can grab it right there. So all we have to do is copy that script tag and put it usually in the head of our page. So we saw the script tag at the end of the previous section. This allows us to take the version 2.2 of jQuery and use it in our page. Now this is a great way of doing things, and it's actually what I'd normally recommend for production websites. The URL googleapis.com is extremely reliable. It's probably faster than your own web hosting, and because a lot of websites already use this link, there's a good chance that it's already downloaded and cached on the user's computer. So if that's the case, they won't even have to download it again, which means that your website will load even faster. The slight downside, however, is that you are relying on another web service here. You don't have any control over Google APIs, and it's extremely unlikely, but they might go down, or they might change their URLs or do something that actually breaks this link. So if you're the sort of person that wants complete control over your code, you may not be keen to do something like this. How would you get jQuery in that case then? Well, that's method number 2. And this is where we go back to jQuery.com and we click that big orange download jQuery button. So I'm just going to click on that, and I'd recommend going for jQuery 2.2, and if in doubt, go for the compressed version, because that's going to load more quickly. So then just save that. In fact, I'm going to save it directly into my jQuery folder, and I'm going to change its name to make it a little bit easier to type in. I'm just going to call it jQuery.min.js. So now it's an external JavaScript file, but it's stored on my computer. So I don't have to worry about Google servers ever going down. It's only going to be linking to code on my server. This is also handy when you're developing a site. If you're for any reason working offline, or if you've got a bad internet connection, then working with a local version of jQuery will mean that you're not downloading information from the internet. So everything will happen faster as long as you're working completely offline. So those are the two ways that you can use jQuery. I'd generally go for the first one in a production site, but I'm going to keep with this one for the rest of this section for no particular reason other than it's already there. It also means I'm not relying on my internet connection at any point. All right, so let's now go back and open this page up. I'm just going to put a quick hi there so I know that I've got the right page when I find it. And I'll open it by just going to Finder or Explorer in Windows, and then going to the desktop, Complete Web Developer Course for jQuery, and then jQuery.html. There we go. I'll just save that, and we should get the correct content. There we go. Hi there. So one question that might come to mind is, how on earth do we know whether or not jQuery is actually loaded? It doesn't do anything. Well, one way would be to start typing some jQuery and see if it works. But that's not a great solution because you might want to have some kind of JavaScript code that at least runs if jQuery is not working. So let me show you how we can test for jQuery in a reliable way. Remember, jQuery is just a framework on top of JavaScript. So everything works in a very similar way to JavaScript, and we put all our jQuery code in exactly the same place that we would put our JavaScript code. So if our jQuery is up and running, there will be a variable called jQuery. Now, this is very promising that it's come up with this already, because it means that my text editor has picked up on the jQuery here and it recognizes jQuery as a variable. So I'm feeling confident, but I want to be sure and I want to run it in my web page over here. So how do you test if a variable exists? Well, what you do is you look for a type of that variable. So each variable has a different type, and if a variable doesn't exist, that type is going to be undefined. Oops, I nearly just put a single equals there. That would have been bad. So what this does is looks at the type of the variable jQuery and tests whether or not it's undefined. So if it is undefined, then that means jQuery hasn't installed correctly for whatever reason. So we'll alert jQuery is not installed. But if it's not undefined, that means it exists. So we can alert jQuery is installed correctly. So I'm hoping to get the second alert. Let's refresh the page and find out. jQuery is installed correctly. Fantastic. Let's just make absolutely sure that this is doing what we hoped and get rid of this script temporarily and then run the page again, and you can see jQuery is not installed. So this is a good thing to do at the beginning of your web page creation. If you're using jQuery, just do a quick test to make sure that everything's up and running. Otherwise you might write a bunch of code and it wouldn't work and you don't know why, and then you realize your jQuery link is wrong or something like that. Okay, so now we're up and running with jQuery. We're going to continue in the next few videos to see how we do some of the things that we have already learned to do in JavaScript in jQuery. And generally we'll find that they're a lot easier and more flexible when we're doing them in jQuery than they are in JavaScript. I've just noticed as well that we don't have a type there. Always good to have a type. So we'll pop that in, text/JavaScript. Brilliant. Okay, so let's move on and see how we detect a click and do something in response with jQuery.